This meeting is being recorded.
All right, hey everyone. Robert here, aka Omega, in the chats. I believe this is our first official governance call, so welcome everyone. On the main points on the agenda today are the Altair Runtime Upgrade 4 and getting the network launched. I believe Cassie's going to talk about an update on Altair claims and how this may impact the launch. And we're also going to talk about Centrifuge liquidity rewards, namely issuer versus tin and drop rewards. And then beyond that, we'll move to some questions and comments that were posted in the forum and let people articulate those here as well later on in the meeting. So is Miguel here now? Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, Miguel.
Hey, yep.
Hey there. So yeah, so I think we want to start with Runtime Upgrade 4, and not sure if Lucas is here yet, but I did know that we wanted to reach a certain threshold of community voting. Yeah, before we moved on to Runtime Upgrade 4. So if you wanted to speak on that a little bit, that would be great. Lucas or Miguel.
Cannot hear you, Lucas.
Okay, now better. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we launched this campaign to get the council elected, right? First was just getting candidates to come forward, and then actually getting the community to vote. Let me just open up the latest status, but we've had like between 30 and 100 different addresses supporting different council members, and I think on average there's now, well, I'm not calculating an exact average, but we're almost at 1 million AIR per council member on average. So I think that means, like, from a network security, right? Like what we want to make sure is that a large enough amount of the total token holders voted to put like a well-supported council in place that obviously knows what they're doing and sort of has enough support so that someone can't just come in and like kick out existing council members and put their own, like basically making an attack, right, of like a minority token holder harder. And I think we've done actually pretty well in that. So I'm super happy to see, like I mentioned, Yaroslav has 112 different votes. Set runner-up in number of addresses is actually, oh, that's me, 67, and then 66 for Ash. The highest backing is Davor Capital with 4 million AIR, and then Brandon with 3.5, and Keanu Ops, which is Miguel and Ved, that's 2 million. So I think that's like good. So I'm happy to say I think that we have like a functioning council that's made up of, looking at it right now, actually mostly community members that are not part of the core team, which is cool to see. There's like Keanu Ops, me, and Brandon that are full-time working on Centrifuge. So that's actually, I think we're ready, a good sign, and we're ready to move on. So that's the update on council.
Yeah, thanks everyone for pushing the vote in all the channels. It seems to have worked out really well. And I know Reno, sorry, made a nice post about how we're pretty far ahead of the pack on getting people to vote. So that's great. Miguel, did you want to speak briefly on what's next as far as Runtime Upgrade 4, now that we have a sufficient amount of votes for the council?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, the core topic of this runtime upgrade that we are packaging, but we will propose to the network, is that we will enable, balance transfers, balance movements, and that it means that any token holder can then send and receive without restriction within the Centrifuge chain. Another big topic on this upgrade is really removing the pseudo palette. And I know you guys are familiar with the pseudo palette does, but it basically allowed the owner of a key, which in this case it was Centrifuge, to make any super user changes. So we could of course bypass the democracy or referendas, and you can modify the runtime code or any type of storage. So this key has served us well with the initial phases because we were able to ensure stability and a speed of change and iteration, but we're getting to a point that the community needs to drive this, all these proposals and the resolutions of them. So this will be as well removed as part of this runtime upgrade. So we only will go through democratic referendums and council. And then as well with it, we will allow, I don't think we have figured out yet our collator program, but one big piece that's coming with this upgrade is that we will, is basically setting up the foundation to at least initially add external collators that follow this program that will be voted through these public referendums and council. So it is far from what we want to achieve in the the subsequent releases, meaning that we want to enable a full NPOS or DPoS type of setup, but for now this will just basically allow the community to be part of the block proposal of the collator system of our chain. Yeah, I think that's more or less the three main items that are coming in, and yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, yeah, sounds great. Did anybody else want to comment on that? Runtime on the runtime upgrade.
Maybe Miguel, can you say a bit about like how far testing and like development is on runtime upgrade 4, or like how ready you think it is for deploying it?
Yeah, so most of the code is, you actually can see it in our Centrifuge chain repo. We have a draft PR open that we still need to like polish and a couple of things, but we are pretty much, we have tested out this new collator allow list. The same with the balance transfers, and pretty much like a lot of filters that we are removing. So that we are like pretty far out. I think we might be able to just propose it to the community in the next week, 10 days. So that's more or less the timeline. Assuming that we are happy with the council distribution and voting, which looks like we are. So.
Okay, sounds good. Should we move on to? I believe Cassidy wanted to speak briefly on the update on Altair claims and how that might impact the launch. Do we have Cassidy here?
Yeah, just had to unmute, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, what I wanted to bring up was, so the main thing that we would like the council to vote on, or like the first main thing, is the enabling of balance transfers and removing the pseudo key. And I think it's important for the community that we only do that after we've sort of settled as much of the air claims that we can. And one of the things that came up was some of these Bifrost users that say that they didn't have enough time to get the opportunity to swap these addresses. And so I think we could accommodate some of those users and give like a few more days to just gather. I think it was like a dozen people, so it's not a large amount of overhead, and it will just take an update on our side that will probably take a couple of days by itself after we make sure we gather all of this information. So I would say, I mean, my target in terms of like how much time we want to give to make sure all of that's settled, I would propose maybe by the end of next week that we can try to have all of the air claims settled, and then the week afterwards being a potential timeline for the council being able to propose on chain that we enable balance transfers and remove the pseudo key. But I wanted to bring it up here for discussion and see if that seems like it's in line with what everyone else was also thinking. If there's anything else, anyone else would like to bring up in terms of considerations before enabling balance transfers. Yeah, maybe I just leave it open there in case anyone has any comments.
Yeah, anyone else want to comment on that?
What exactly is the
And,
issue with the people that are trying to claim things through Bifrost, I guess?
So the way that our claims palette was set up was that it was assuming that everyone was claiming for the first time. And so it only enabled like one claim per account. And unfortunately, Bifrost did all of their contributions through one address, but we also wanted to be able to allow their users to claim. And so it gave us a situation that we didn't anticipate. I mean, we could have if it wasn't a last minute sort of fix, but it ended up that there were addresses that had already claimed air because they had contributed directly through the portal on chain and not through Bifrost. And so because they had contributed through both different avenues, it ended up that they weren't able to claim the air reward that we had said they'd be able to claim that they had contributed through Bifrost. And so we gave users a week to sign on chain a swap of address. So we put up a UI that allowed users to be able to sign that they wanted to claim these rewards through a different address. And we had, I think it was maybe 100 users that were affected by that. And most of them were able to complete that process. And we had maybe a dozen or so that came to us that said they felt like the timeline was too short and they wanted to be given another opportunity. It's also fair if anyone has like a total blocker to that, but that's the context. And I think it was in the spirit of trying to be accommodating to those users and give them an opportunity, that this week of time wasn't a large inconvenience for the council to be able to enable the balance transfers. Does that context make sense? Anything else?
Yeah, I guess like what would a fix be? Would it just be like minting them their allocation or something, or like what changes would need to be made for governance?
So it would be allowing them to swap the address that they then can claim from. And so it would be an update to the claims tree, which is something that we can do when we still have the pseudo key and not something that we can do once we remove that enable balance transfers. And it would then have to be, it would then have to go through democracy, which would be a much more difficult process. I think the original hope was that all of the users that would be claiming air would actually get that before we even enabled governance. But unfortunately, because that process ended up being clunkier than expected, it's dragged on quite a bit.
So it seems like if we're like following testing and preparing runtime upgrade 4, we have about another week. So like, wouldn't the pragmatic approach be to say, we're going to do as much as we can until then for anyone that has this issue, and for those that come later, we do like one last, like the council can always decide to do a proposal to upgrade or to upgrade the claims tree, and we could, if we had to, still do that, right?
Yeah. Okay, so then the proposal is that these open claims have a week to get resolved from now, because the testing process is anyway going on for this next week. And then the idea would be that the council is interested in then proposing the upgrade to enable balance transfers and remove pseudo the week of January 17th. Is that correct?
I think we're at, yeah, Miguel was saying, yes, that would be
Okay, cool.
one week.
One thing is that, I mean, we have a working council, right? So we don't need pseudo key. We just need to have consensus. So it's harder, but technically it's not super blocker.
Yeah, that was my proposal. It's like whatever we don't manage to finish on this claims, like democracy or council can always do it.
That makes sense. I think the other, yeah, I will definitely make my best effort that I get as much sorted in the next week as possible. Just a side note to be aware of is that people will definitely want to be able to have their air once balance transfers are enabled. I'm sure people get very excited about liquidity events, is all I will say there. So I will try to do my best to get as much of that sorted beforehand. But then, yeah, week of January 17th as the target date for council proposing enabling balance transfers. Cool.
Okay. And anyone else want to make a comment on runtime upgrade 4 or this particular issue? If not, we can move on to Centrifuge liquidity rewards, specifically issuer versus tin and drop rewards. Lucas, did you want to start off by talking about that?
If we're okay, sort of like concluding on the Altair governance section, then yeah, let's move on. But like, just so we sort of keep the topics together, like, or does anyone else have questions with regards to Altair or stuff that you want to talk about first before we move on?
Should we move in to some of the comments and questions from the forum on Altair before moving on to Centrifuge?
Yeah, I think the staking question is a good one we should address.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. So Rano asked like how staking is going to work on Altair. I mean, I can start out with like just from an economics perspective, like the idea of becoming a parachain is that you don't pay for security and as much anymore in staking rewards as you would if you were not a parachain, right? So generally, like, staking rewards are not needed to provide finality. So like the security of like ensuring the like blocks are ordered correctly, not rearranged. All of this is sort of like coming from Kusama in Altair. There's one place where proof of stake can still make sense, which is the collators. The role that collators have is they propose blocks, meaning like
as a collator, you receive all of the transactions that user submits, you order them, you finalize a block, and then the relay chain validators then validate your block and include it, right? So that role, basically, like the risk here for a collator is that they can censor you, but they can't change history. So censorship resistance obviously is important, and as thus, like, it does warrant paying out rewards to collators, but it is going to be significantly less, because really the main threat to a network usually is like reorgs, or sort of like like changing the history of the chain. So the other problem is, like, staking is quite heavy in terms of like how it works, both of like on-chain transactions, but also just as a general technical topic. And so I think, like, different parachains have taken different strategies on how they select collators. Maybe Miguel, do you want to say what we've or Bannon or whoever on our side, like what we've discussed so far, and like where we are with regards to giving to incentivizing collators?
I think we are still a bit, early to know, but yes, as you mentioned, like the current, like, fragment election algorithm is very heavy, and we are really constrained on the amount of time that the parachain can take to produce a block. So that might not work for the amount of, like nominators, stakers. So yeah, I mean, right now we are trying to figure out a different approach that is more on the delegated proof stake, which is more on the you select the collators that you want to nominate your funds against, or your stake, and that basically will simplify significantly the selection for the next, elected set of collators, that it has to be done on chain. So that's one approach we're thinking about, but we still need to research a bit more.
Maybe just some stuff to add in here. So generally what like other different parachains have done, well, there's like a couple different people that have been doing different things. I think like one of the only parachains that has had kind of like the nominated proof of stake or kind of like elected kind of thing is like Moonbeam and like Moonriver. And they literally had to write this entire like framework to kind of be able to support that. So they wrote this thing called like Nimbus, which is kind of like a fork of Cumulus, which is kind of this like parachain framework for stuff. And like the amount of time and resources that they actually put into building this out was like a lot. So they have kind of this thing where it's kind of like people kind of get elected via like stake, and also like collators that kind of get rewards and whatnot. But it's a bit different just because like they're running like EVM chain and like EVM environment, and compared to a lot of other parachains, it's like incredibly like resource intensive. So people that like run nodes there, it's like the actual infrastructure that they're running is like a lot more powerful than people that are actually running infrastructure on like Polkadot and Kusama. So that might be like one reason why they kind of need to do that. But for like most of the parachains, they don't actually need to incorporate things like staking and rewards into things. So like what a lot of people will use is kind of this like collator selection palette for things. And so most like parachains will use Aura as a consensus engine for things. And this is kind of this like round robin approach to like each of the collators will kind of just get this like a turn every so often. And the selection for that so far, at least in the palette itself, has been kind of like first come, first serve. So it's like when a collator kind of registers, they get added to the queue of people actually like running things. What a lot of other parachains, such as like Akala and Astar and other folks have done is doing like collator selection via governance. So it's like usually people will vote on which collators they want to actually kind of like include and whatnot. Although like most of the parachains actually haven't gotten to that stage yet, it's been kind of this kind of incremental rollout of things where for most parachains, kind of like the actual parachain teams themselves have just kind of like hand selected the collator sets, just kind of like based on which people they think have been doing like a good job, or which like community members have run things for like other networks and stuff like that. In general, like I don't think running collators should be like incentivized the same way that kind of they have been on maybe like Centrifuge or Kusama or Polkadot and whatnot. There's not really a need for like people to like nominate. There's not really a need for like collators to put up like stake for things. And without having to do that, then it frees up actually like a lot of liquidity to be able to do other things. So you can do a lot more interesting things, kind of liquidity pools, incentivizing like a lot of cool like on-chain tokenomics for things. And so in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a good thing that it frees up a lot of tokens in the network to actually kind of like put towards different things and different cool approaches to stuff. So be curious in the future what cool things that you all have planned for that.
Just one last question, if I may ask, regarding staking still. How many collators are there going to be on Altair to start with?
Anyone answer that?
I don't know what the answer is. So like you could set this with like governance stuff like that, but technically you literally just need one collator in the network for the actual network to run. Ideally, you want maybe like more than that to just have some like redundancy and whatnot. But like technically, you only need one collator, but however many is set to run it first and whatnot is, I guess, kind of arbitrary. But I guess it depends on what it's actually kind of set for that.
Right now, there are 3 that are run by Centrifuge. I think we will probably want to do a democracy proposal to onboard, at least a couple more from the community so that we're not totally centralized. Longer term, the absolute number that we need, I don't know.
Yeah, Moon River just increased their collators up to like 68 the other day. You don't really need that many collators, but like, yeah, like State Mine, for example, which is like the Polkadot parachain or the Kusama parachain for assets, is like 6 collators run by Parity mostly. So in general, it's like you don't really need a ton, but you want maybe just a few.
Looks like Reno, another question, and also Yaroslav echoed this, was what might be the APY or inflation rate for Altair?
I mean, I think there's like, I don't think it makes sense to focus on like staking rewards in Altair with like collating. Maybe there's going to be something else, but that will require significant work. Like Fabienne posted an idea. Like these are things that are yet to come. And like, as Will also said, like there's a lot of innovation on token models you can do that aren't necessarily tied to like the security of the network. So like APY on like staking, I don't think that's like anything that we can guess or like even model today, because yeah, like I think the collator incentives should be significantly less, like orders of magnitude less, right? And so as a way for like a large part of the network to earn yield, it's not really something that will be relevant. Yeah.
Maybe just one last thing for that though. Collators also do earn transaction fees though, and so the more things that there are in the network, the more like activity, and the more things that kind of like are happening, the more collators actually kind of like earn from that. So that's just another factor that will hopefully be a lot better, especially as in the future a lot of like XCM and cross-chain interoperability stuff also happens.
Okay, and I see Pat's, if you're here, you posted a question in the forum regarding the treasury. I don't know if we want to speak briefly on that, like how like the best use of the treasury, how we might be planning on utilizing that. Are you here, Pat? Okay. Well, if not, we can move on. unless there's any more questions or comments regarding Altair, then we can start to move on to Centrifuge and liquidity rewards.
Yeah, on the question from Pat, there was a bit of discussion on this question around how to best utilize Altair Treasury and the kind of informal call we did a few weeks ago. And I think one of the key needs that was raised, I think by Will and others, was like infrastructure budgeting. And there were a few more things there. I can grab the notes up that we took from that meeting, unless anyone else has a good memory of what we talked about.
I mean, the short, just to refresh memory, like the treasury, the Altair Treasury is fully in control of the council. And so it's really up to the council to decide. And we have the Treasury palette on Altair that allows people to both submit tips and to submit Treasury grant proposals, really for anything that they think that the council sort of like can then vote on. Now what we can do, I think like sort of like invest in the Treasury is super interesting and something we should start doing. And I think sort of for Altair, like XCM needs to first be functioning for us. So like there's a lot of work we have to do on just getting tokens transferable and sort of making sure we can interact with other parachains. And then we could start looking at, okay, like what does the on-chain Treasury do? And I think that will open up a whole new set of things we can do, as in like we can provide liquidity, we can do swaps with other projects, like that was one of the things mentioned, right? But for that, like really not in Runtime Upgrade 4, but I think, I guess a couple after, what we need to do is we need to turn on XCM. But sort of on that topic, I think one of the first things we're gonna do is try to put up a proposal in Karura to get actually CFG listed on their decks and sort of enable like cross-chain transfers between Karura and Altair. And then the other thing, right, is integrating with Moonriver and seeing that we can also get CFG into an ERC20 on Moonriver, which would then allow you to do pretty much anything you want with it on Moonriver. So those are the two things that can happen. I think it's maybe a bit early to say what exactly, like we need to first get Runtime Upgrade 4 out the door. Yeah.
Also on that, so one thing that you should just note is that like the Treasury is literally just an account. It's like the same way that there's any other account. And so it's just kind of like the account is just controlled by like root origin, which in this case is the council. And so you can imagine it's like all the other things that are going on, like other different parachains and whatnot. You could be able to kind of participate in all those same different things. The only thing that's kind of needed is like to be able to do XCM calls from this like root origin thing. So this was something that I've been super interested in looking into, partly for like the Kusama and the Polkadot Treasury and whatnot. And I started syncing up with like Brian from Kala and some people from like HydroDX and stuff, because they're also interested in a bunch of these things. But generally, I think there's this one post that Hasu made on kind of like ideas of how to think about like treasuries and stuff like this. There's a lot of just interesting ways to kind of like incorporate that. But yeah, it's like one of the things that's kind of needed is like a primitive is just a lot more XCM functionalities for doing things with like governance. Just because it's like you can imagine like there's all these other different parachains that also have treasuries as well. And so there's a lot of cool things that can be done between all of these.
Feel free to show your posts as well, Will. I think that's super interesting and something we want to play with as well.
Yeah, maybe I'll make a post about that at some point.
Okay, we'll wait for that.
Okay. Any other questions on or comments on Altair and Runtime Upgrade 4 before we move on? All right, so I guess we can start now with on Centrifuge with issuer versus tin and drop rewards. I guess that'll be you again, Lucas, on that if you want to start.
Yeah, I just posted the link to the forum thread on sort of the results of the working group that we had that was sort of discussing different ideas to improve liquidity provider rewards. In that post, sort of like one thing that was implemented and voted on by the community were the Aave protocol rewards. So the real world asset market is the first one that got like a 833,000 CFG for rewards for the roughly 90 days or so, starting on the 29th of December. So this is sort of going into basically covering Q1. So that was implemented, and then there were, I think, two other core ideas that I wanted to that we were sort of thinking about, and the one I would like to discuss here, as I think it's a good one to start tackling next, is sort of how we allocate rewards between originators or issuers, and how we allocate them to junior and senior token investors. And so one of the like realizations or sort of like observations we've made in how centrifuge pools on TinLake are used are sort of that, like, we generally have a lack of capital much more than a lack of issuers, and issuers actually are getting a pretty, like, for them, like a reward on sort of the originations they make is actually is obviously very helpful for them to get started and get over the hurdle of like adopting all this crypto stuff, like fighting with banks to be able to start using stable coins to borrow, right? And like there's obviously a huge amount of pain they go through, and I think like that is a good way to also like distribute CFG to users, to early users of our protocol. But we have this problem that like basically junior investors is actually are the ones that are, maybe if you look at it from a risk reward perspective, are the least incentivized actually to get involved in Centrifuge, because compared to the senior investors, their returns are almost the same, because even though they take significantly more risk, right? If you look at the CFG rewards. Now, if you look at issuers also, they usually contribute a healthy amount of junior rewards themselves, of the junior capital themselves. And so like one idea was to say, instead of rewarding issuers, we can reward junior investors much more. And so shift some of the AO reward to the junior investors, and by that, like increase the basically incentive for junior investors to come. And that is, I think, important, because sort of looking at junior investors, they have to really do a lot of due diligence on the pools they want to invest. They have sort of leveraged exposure, and then sort of do that for basically the same CFG reward as the drop investors, right? And that isn't really right, and is a feedback that we've seen from quite a few investors, right? That they tend to just want to invest in the senior because there's very little upside for investing in the junior. And so that's sort of the base. So I wanted to first ask if there are any questions about that, and just open it up for discussion if this is a change we want to push through. Sort of like one model, there's a screenshot posted in the table if you scroll down to originator rewards, sort of what it could look like. Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, but a lot of issuers, or most of them, or all of them, are also junior investors, right?
Yeah, and it's actually a metric that I think you can see. We do show how much
Yeah, we have it in the UI now. It's
Yeah,
shown
it
on
is.
the overview
Okay,
page.
thanks, Dennis. Yeah, so if you go using New Silver as an example, where do you see? Oh yeah, so you see if you look at a pool, I'm just posting a link here. New Silver as an example. If you scroll down to the bottom of this page, you can see junior provided by issuer on the bottom right. New Silver right now currently holds 60% of the junior. Other pools, it's somewhere between 10 and 100%. And Fabienne, you made a good point. Like actually, if we increase junior rewards, we also incentivize issuers to invest more in the junior, which is what we want, right? Because we want issuers to have skin in the game. And they do that by providing some of the junior capital.
Any comments or questions on this topic? So I see Fabian saying basically the compensation issuers are getting for structuring are built into the APY junior are getting.
Are you able to speak, Fabienne? Not quite sure I can follow.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't try to overtake the conversation here. What I'm saying is like the CFG reward gonna, because the amount of issuer who knock in the door on Centrifuge is high, and we're gonna see institutional adoption pretty soon, I hope, probably Q2, Q3. This reward for junior tranche are not sustainable to me. The junior tranche should be provided by the issuer, in my mind, and the issuer already get paid. Like I can give an example. I'm transparent. Like on Bling and Branch, we're gaining between 20% and 47% APY on the junior because of the structuring and the way we underwrite and structure our pool. It's a lot of money already. Like getting more reward, CFG reward. I don't think it's a solution. I see CFG as a checkbook, right? Every time you give up CFG, you're basically burning money from your checkbook. And I think there's already plenty of money to be made by the junior holder. And I'm not sure we should do more. But it's your call, I guess, you know. But you end up with 100% APY. Like, it's insane already, right?
So, I mean, I guess the question for me is like, okay, so my proposal was to shift the rewards from like issuer to junior. I think in general, though, we can also talk about lowering rewards, which we should too. I don't know if it makes sense to talk about both at the same time. It's like so there's a proposal. Go ahead.
So if the issuer has to provide the junior tranche, I think they should. You know, inside the SPV, inside the series LLC, what they could do is they can raise money with promissory notes. So the LLC can raise promissory notes with investors interested in taking high risk. But it doesn't mean they should, you know, get higher CFG reward. I don't know if it makes sense. That's what I done with Chorus. I give them $1 million directly into the SPV, and they use that to provide the junior tranche, right? But they're getting a lot of money already. I'm not sure they should have more. Like, it doesn't align incentive to me.
What will your proposal be, Fabienne, then?
My proposal is like the issuer need to provide 100% of the junior tranche, because it's the way to have a skin on the game and align incentive. If they can't, it means that structurally the offering is not interesting, and they are not good at pitching and raising money, which is a problem. And at some point, I think issuer should bring their own money. And if they're not, it means there's a problem too. So I don't think you should spend more money. The CFG is money, right? And it creates downward pressure because these people sell the CFG to basically cover cost, right? So I don't think the economics are good, because basically you incentive people, making money out of the CFG reward, when what you want long term is people to build models that are interesting enough to create a very profitable, exciting junior tranche, appealing junior tranche, right? I think you're burning money right now. And I'm probably the largest issuer, one of the largest issuers, so I shoot myself in the foot right now, but I don't think you should give more money to junior tranches.
Okay, is this something that we can maybe move to the forum, and maybe Fabian, can we create a forum post and go into this in more detail?
Yeah, I'm gonna hire a body.
So I think, Fabian, like maybe, so what I actually, instead of the forum, like I'm going to paste the link here. There's a Discord channel, the working group on the rewards. Like before we start publishing another proposal, I think let's maybe discuss it in there. I'll post a link in a second. Yeah. So anyone. Yeah.
Thank you, Lucas. And maybe I'm wrong, just by the way.
We'll see, we can discuss. I'm happy to also get other opinions. I know like Kirill also gave a few comments on the forum. So like, I think, yeah, it will be interesting to see what we agree on together.
Okay, and so yeah, were there any other comments or questions either from the forum or just here in the call that anyone wanted to make before we start to wrap up?
I have a question, is like, before we publish things on Discord publicly, there is a way to like create more groups, like to work on, like for example, there's an underwriting ID with Air on Altair. It's something I would love to work with people like Ash and maybe other engineer, Cassidy. Is there a way to coordinate?
Yeah, I think there should be just, I mean, the open channels on Discord, is there a reason this needs to be private, Fabian?
Yeah, people have limited time. In general, people have like 20 Discords they are part of. And I think like, having draft of drafts is kind of losing everybody's time. I like to have something more mature before people can actually, absorb and react. But again, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't, if we start putting too much things, that people are gonna stop reading. That's my experience from the past.
I mean, we can always create private or smaller groups on Discord. There's like, I mean, there's different ways. I think happy to just announce also that you want to like pick whatever communication channel works best for you, Fabian, I think.
Okay, yeah, so we can definitely sort that out in the near future. Thanks for your feedback, Fabian. Anybody else have any comments or questions before we finish? Okay. Let's see. All right, so yeah, this will be a monthly occurrence. These governance calls, our next call will be the first Thursday of next month. And also we have our community call, of course, next week, I believe, right? Next on the 13th. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Next Thursday, same time, in a Zoom will be the Centrifuge community call, which is we'll be covering the real world asset market, a new collaboration between Aave and Centrifuge, and also the Centrifuge crowd loan. Thanks, Robert. So yeah, I'll post the details in the chat here.
Yeah,
All right,
and thanks for facilitating, Robert or Omega.
Oh yeah, thanks. I mean,
Great
yeah,
first call.
yeah, thanks everyone. Yeah, thanks, Lucas.
All right then. Have a good evening.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Nice one, Robert. Talk soon.
Yeah.
Can stop recording now.